I'm into the main part of this hat now, and I want to set up marker yarns around the circle. So I'm using what I call running yarn markers, and I'm using each piece of yarn to mark 2 positions. I lay it between the needles at the position that I want to mark, and then just work over the top of it. You need to make sure the marker yarn goes underneath the working yarn. So I've got a little pattern here, a motif with 4 contrasting pairs of stitches, and I'm going just to work in pattern until I get 14 pairs past where I positioned the first part of that marker yarn. I've worked 14 pairs past my previous marked position, and I'm going to bring the tail through at the other end. So the 2 bits of yarn are connected, and this helps to hold it into the work and stop it falling out. You could put an individual piece of yarn in each one of these positions, and as long as you have it hanging fairly equally on both sides, it's unlikely to come out accidentally. Now I'm using these marker yarns in this case because we have a random pattern in this hat, and it's helpful to be able to spread your designs out in 1/8 portions of the hat, especially when it comes to decreases. So if we look at this hat now, I can see that that's 1/4, and I've put a knot in my first marker yarn. I could use a different coloured yarn, but something to indicate that that is the beginning of my round. Every couple of rounds, when I reach a marked position, I'm going to flip my marker yarn up the work. So here I am at my start of round position. I'm just flipping the marker yarn up and carry on and ignore it. This will give me a sort of marked reference position, and I've put them in every 1/8 of a round. And this will help me when it comes to putting random decreases in for the crown. The idea of random motifs is to let them flow around, and we don't have to keep them away from the future decrease positions. So I started this motif a couple of rounds back, and the motif is 4 pairs of contrasting stitches, and then in the middle of the motif it has a little colour blip, so 2 pairs contrasting, and then back to the side of the motif and onto the sort of background colour of the hat. I try not to start all my motifs on one particular round, and sprinkle a few more in every round when I feel, or on any round where I feel like it. So I've got a motif here. I've got room to put another one, so I'm going to start a fresh motif here with 4 pairs with the colours reversed. And the nice thing about these markers is it doesn't matter if your motif crosses the marker line. The markers will become more significant when we start doing the decreases. And there is the start of my next motif. 1, 2, 3, 4. And when I just come across it on the next round, I just continue the motif pattern, so it will take on this little square shape. I've got my marker yarns in place, so that one is the start of round. Not that I always start my round at the beginning. I'm aiming for about 4 rounds of turquoise and about 6 rounds of green, and I don't always change at the start of the round. Now I'm in my random patterning section here, and you can see that on the last round I felt the need to start a new pattern motif. So on this round I put the second round of colours in, matching the previous round. So there should be 4 pairs like that. I'm coming up on a marker yarn here, so I'll flip it. I don't do it every round, but every once in a while I'll flip it to the other side to give me a guideline, because when it comes to the decreases, we're going to be positioning them in between marker yarns. Just any old wear, but one decrease between each pair of marker lines. And that way we'll get the right number of decreases and we can keep them out of the way of our pattern. Now, when working random patterns, I take an overview and I have a look and I think, no, I don't want to start another square just here. I might think about putting one in that next section because there's not a lot happening along here. But until then, I'm just going to complete that one. And I'm going to do a colour change. In double knitting, I quite often double the first stitch of the new colour. So I'm holding that along with my old yarn, work the two together. Then I'll leave my tail on the front of the work, so I know that I need to come back and finish that off later. And off I go with my new shade of green.